We've rolled back our football prices. WagerTalk's first full year was 2015, and we've lowered our football season packages to match what we charged that football season. Why? It's simple. We want to make our season-long packages an extraordinary value. You can buy a full college football season or full NFL season for only $5.99 each. But if you buy a college football NFL combo from the same handicapper, you pay only $8.99. Looking to mix and match handicappers? We have you covered. Just email support@wagertalk.com for a bundle discount and to create any handicapper combo you can dream of.
All right, guys, welcome in. Happy Thursday to you. College football, it is alive. It is well. Some action, of course, tonight. Week 1 in college football here. Exciting stuff going on. And one of the all-star panels we're going to have this season for you coming up to break down a couple of these games coming up this weekend. And, of course, none better than Ralph Michaels, Teddy Covers, and Dave Cokin in the house. And it would not be a college football show without Ralph Michaels sticking his pen in our face. But here we are. And, Ralph, I'm going to come to you first. At least it's his pen, exactly. So talk to us here, Ralph. You excited? It's a big week 1 right now.
Oh, you know what? I had a discussion. Teddy and Dave, do you guys get more excited for week 1 of college football or more excited for the beginning of March Madness? Either way, an exciting time. A lot of work went into the summer. You still have a chance. If you need to get caught up on returning starters, new coaches, yards per game diff, recruiting ranks, the free college football guide is either available on my homepage, wagertalk.buzz/RM, or just go to goldsheet.com. It's right in the middle. You don't need to register. Just click on the guide. You'll see the college football guide for free.
All right, good stuff there. And Teddy, what's been going on, my man? Baseball continuing to roll for you? I know you're excited because football is back, my friend.
Yeah, and so you asked a question as to which is more exciting, March Madness, that opening week of March Madness, or the opening week of football. And in my mind, it's not close because I'm a big fan of the conference tournaments in college hoops. The conference tournaments the week before March Madness. So March Madness is almost, back when I was a pure fan, there was nothing better than March Madness. As a bettor, we've been studying these teams for 6 months. We're ready for the football season to start. So as a bettor, my vote is going to be week 1, even week 0 of college football, the most exciting week for me. Though I got to ask you, Joe, is it a Ryan Fitzpatrick look that you're going for now? You look more like Fitzpatrick every day.
It really
Explain
does.
that to me.
It really does. I got the whole, it was either that or Tua, but they're still a little salty down here about that. So we're going to go ahead and just say Ryan Fitzpatrick, yes, because he's going to play till he's 100. Dave Cokin, talk to me, my friend. I know you got college football up and ready to rock and roll at wagertalk.com. What else you got going on?
Well, let's see. I've got 2 best bets this weekend in college football, 2 free plays in college football. So you just go to my homepage, wt.buzz/DC, and you can read about those. A 5% opening week NFL play, which I don't think I've ever done that before. I only had 2 last year in the NFL. They both were dogs. They both won outright by pretty good margins. So obviously it's a game I like quite a bit. In answer to Ralph's question, for me, week 1 of college football is I want it to be done. Because I like having actual game, either tapes or at least stats to really digest. It is a little bit of a guessing game in week 1, at least for me, because I'm working more on my power ratings and opinion than actual factual data. So it's not my favorite week of the year. But I'm obviously excited to have college football back. But I get more excited as the season goes on. All right, I see Penn State and Wisconsin on the screen, so let's talk college football.
Let's get it out of the way, man. Let's do it. Game number 1 here on tap today. Penn State taking on Wisconsin. Total 53.5 is an open. Wisconsin opened up as a 4-point favorite, and I'm wondering, Ralph, what do you think of these 2 teams here, Wisconsin, this Saturday?
Oh, clearly in my power ratings and probably most, the second and third best teams in the Big Ten. And I am a big fan of Wisconsin. I believe what Paul Chris says. I believe the people covering that they are in for a monster year. You know, one thing about Penn State, they obviously lost their first 5 games and then came on strong. But you look at their statistical profile, they have the most misleading record of maybe anyone in college football last year. Despite being only 4-5, Penn State was actually plus 101 yards per game in Big Ten play. That was better than Wisconsin. That was, you know, Indiana was actually negative. So I probably should say Indiana Hoosiers were the most disparate because they were 6-1 with the negative yards per game. But so you have 2 teams, Penn State, poor record, great statistics. Wisconsin finished 3-3, very good statistics. But I like the run game. I think Wisconsin's back. I think this offensive line is massive. Listen to their starting 5, 6'6", 6'4", 6'6", 6'7", and 6'5". They average 312. Penn State's 2 defensive ends are in the 240s. Penn State has a tackle, 265. I love Jalen Berger. He may not even win the job. I mean, Ches Malusi from a year before came back. He didn't play last year. He's listed as the 1A. So I'm excited about this running game. I'm excited about Martz, a quarterback now with a year under his belt. Yes, Clifford is strong, but the Wisconsin defense with that run game, I think we see Wisconsin of old. Not a big fan now that the line has moved, but clearly a lean for me for the Badgers.
All right, Badgers it is. And Teddy, let me ask you, it's been, I believe what I heard was 20 years was the last time Penn State started 2 seasons back-to-back with a loss. Do they do it this year? Does Wisconsin get it done?
Well, I mean, there are certainly personnel issues that concern me on the Penn State side of the equation. When you talk about the biggest issues, and Ralph just talked about it, you know, big losses on the offensive line for Penn State, big losses on the defensive line for Penn State. And if you're going to have defensive line question marks against that Badgers front, that's clearly a problem. Now, it's not like the newcomers don't have talent. They have plenty of talent. But executing in Madison week 1, not going to be easy. But Wisconsin in this home favorite role under Paul Chryst, money losers, all right? There was 1 year, 2019, that they opened up 6-0 overall, 5-0 at home, and 4-1 ATS at home. Other than that one stretch in 2019, they're 1-10 against the spread as home faves over the last 3 years under Chryst. 0-2 in this role last year. They lost outright as a 12, 13-point favorite. They needed overtime to win the other one as double-digit chalks. And we talk about Mertz. How many different Wisconsin quarterbacks have we heard hype about over the last 20 years? And none of them, not a one of them, have lived up to expectations. I mean, not one. Now, Mertz this year, this is the year Mertz is going to be good. You know, he wasn't that good last year. And again, this line, the 4 and 53.5, that's long in the rearview mirror. There's been 2 different wise guy moves, both on the favorite. We're seeing 5.5s now, and I think we're going to see higher than that before kickoff. If I'm going to play this one, I'm going to wait as long as I can before kickoff. Maybe take a look at the underdog.
Looking at the underdog, and Dave, it looks like it's come down from the open, so apparently some defense on the market's mind here. What do you think we're going to see?
Well, I don't care about the total because I don't look at college football totals. So I know I'll have to say that about 80 times this year, but there it is for this show. I want to talk about Penn State. They're loaded. The talent level is extremely high. It always is. The problem is at some point, see, we look back to last year. There was the Indiana game and one other game. I can't remember who it was. They outgained Indiana by more than 200 yards, lost the game. And there was somebody else they outgained by more than 200 yards and lost the game. Doing it once in one season doesn't happen that often. Doing it twice in one season is almost unheard of. And to me, it goes to the guy on the sidelines. He sucks in big games. He absolutely sucks in big games. I mean, you could look at the two losses to Ohio State in recent history. They should have won both games. They had both games where they were in command, and he managed to screw it up in the fourth quarter. I think Franklin's a great recruiter. He seems like a good guy. He's basically not that awful a game manager until the chips are down. And the thing about Penn State is, we saw this last year. They are a team that, and this has become a real issue for Penn State over the last few years, really through the Franklin regime. They make horrible mistakes, horrible mental mistakes, and blow football games. There's no way this should have been a sub-500 team last year. They're much better than that. And my number on the game reflects that. I made Wisconsin 2.5 in this game. So from a point spread standpoint, it looks like, there's a little value on Penn State. Yeah, the problem is I have gotten to the point where I can't back Penn State almost in any situation because they never play up to their level of talent. And I'm sorry, I do think it's on the coaching. Not a nice thing to say, but I think they need to find somebody else, and they're not going to do it because, Franklin probably can stay there as long as he wants. So because of that, I think Penn State's going to continue to be kind of what they are, which is a team that can play with anybody, but doesn't win the games that matter. And this is a game that matters.
Yep, it certainly is going to be a great one there, guys, on Saturday. But we got another really big game that's going to matter certainly to these two teams as well. How about Clemson taking on Georgia? And wow, what a way to start off week one in this battle. ACC monster versus the SEC monster. 52.5 as a total. 3.5 as an open here. Teddy, I'll come to you. What do you think here, man? SEC meets ACC.
So when you're talking about week one of the college football slate, the whole concept is there's one way to win with the favorite, and there's two ways to win with the dog. The dog can win, and the dog can hang tough, whereas the favorite's got to win by margin. So you tend to see the betting markets look towards quote-unquote quality dogs this week. And I'm not surprised that we've seen Georgia take some money. Georgia's certainly a quality underdog. And, you're not going to see teams like Georgia cashing points all that often unless they're stepping up in class against a team like Clemson. All that being said, and Dave Cokin was just talking a moment ago about, who do we trust in big games? Dabo Swinney is a coach that I trust in big games. All right. When you talk about playoffs, college football playoffs, college football bowls, ACC title games, the biggest games, 15-4 against the spread in those games since 2012. All right. Georgia, no such track record. And in fact, a negative track record in the current era and other recent eras. The other big issue I have with the Bulldogs here, and again, when you talk about college football accurate injury information, the aggregate websites, I haven't found a good one. I don't trust the aggregate data. When you look at the beat writers and go through the injury reports, there are a lot of times they're all the way down. You got to scroll all the way down. And, hey, this guy missed practice today, and that guy missed practice today.
Yep.
Georgia's had a ton of impact players missing time this preseason, and I mean a ton. So while many of those guys will be suiting up on Saturday, I'm not convinced that Georgia's going to come out in midseason form. If I'm playing, I want the favorite.
All right, going favorite here. And Dave, I got to ask, because I believe this game is being played neutral site, correct, in Charlotte? Yep. So no real home field advantage for either of these teams, or is there?
I can't tell you. I mean, I know that some neutral fields, for instance, the one in Las Vegas this weekend between BYU and Arizona, it's not a neutral field, okay? It's going to be a huge BYU crowd, huge BYU crowd. But I can't tell you on this one. I'm not going to try and guess at that. What I will say is that Teddy kind of hit the nail on the head with the personnel issues for the Bulldogs. It's not as bad as going back to the bowl game last year with Cincinnati, where I know Bearcats eventually blew the game, but Cincinnati was pretty much an easy cover in that game, and Georgia had a lot of personnel issues going into that game. It kind of looks like the same thing, and they're not playing Cincinnati here. They're playing Clemson. No knock on Cincinnati, but the Bearcats are not the Clemson Tigers. Also, and I'm not saying that this should really enter into the cap at all, but a loss here for Georgia is not a death knell for them. I mean, they can still make the playoffs. For Clemson, it would put tremendous pressure on them. If they were to lose this football game, then they've got to win all the rest to get back in, because as good as they are, a 2-loss team out of the ACC isn't going to get a playoff bid. So I think it's actually more important for Clemson. And I made the game 6. I did add a point because of some of the Georgia apparent injuries. I had it 5 and moved it to 6. It's not a bet that's going to make my card. It's too close. Really, I'm looking for bigger advantages in week 1. So, but the only side I'd play is Clemson.
Clemson, definitely a team and a coach that has proven he can win games, Ralph, on the big stage. What do you think here? Is this a coin flip game for you?
Well, I'm going to just sort of repeat, and I'm not going to waste a lot of time because, what Teddy and Dave say held true. I am going to mention a specific, though, on Teddy's and Dave's people banged up. Georgia's missing their top 2 tight ends, which is one of their biggest mismatches on offense. When they have Gilbert, matched up, he's a dynamic weapon. And then you look at JT Daniels. I've read so many publications, JT Daniels finished incredibly hot. Well, his last 3 regular season games where he started were Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Missouri. So, not the creme de la creme of the defenses. I'm going to look at this. I have these 2 front 7s on defense as the number 1 and number 3 defenses in the country. I have Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia, front 7s, 1, 2, and 3. These 2 front 7s against who we're looking at, I'm simply going to go the under. I think it's going to be a smash mouth game. I think that the defenses will dominate. The defenses line will dominate. And I will enjoy the game. I am not betting the game. But for show-wise, a clear opinion on the under for me.
All right, under it is for Ralph. Going to be one hell of a game for sure there. Georgia taking on Clemson. We're going to move out west, though. And, these 3 gentlemen know a little something about these teams here, as Cal taking on Nevada. That's right, Ralph. Nevada taking them on. Cal opening up -3.5. Total 53.5 here. Dave, let me come to you here. Cal Bears, what do you think here?
I think the game's a flat toss-up. I think Nevada might actually be a slightly better team, but they are playing at Cal. And Nevada has to show me they can win this type of game. They've got a very talented quarterback in Carson Strong, who, by the way, is now, I think a few Nevada players got endorsement deals under the new rules that are out there in the NIL. Some of these guys are getting paid now. Strong's stock keeps on getting better. This guy looks like he's going to be playing the NFL next year. I'm not saying he's going to be a starter, but he's a guy who he could get if his stock continues to rise, he could very well be a first-round draft choice. He's got all the tools. And yet, there were times last year where Nevada really frustrated the hell out of me. And a couple of games that I lost with them because they just refused to balance the offense. They were just too pass happy. You got a good offensive line. You got decent running backs. And I'm old school, and the stats still bear me out on this, so I might be old school, but I'm in the right school. If you run the ball and control the clock and keep the other team off the field, you're probably going to win the football game. Nevada just played it too wide open last year. That won't work against this defense. Okay, this is the wrong type of defense to go balls out, let's fire it all over the field. Because California, I got some questions on offense, although I do like the quarterback. But the offense as a whole is not good. But the defense is. It's a quality defense. And it's a good fundamental defense, which means to me, Nevada's got to try and mix it up and not turn it into the Carson Strong show. We'll find out a lot about the Wolfpack here. They're a team that's good enough to get to the Mountain West Championship game and maybe, it's possible, be a contender for a Group of 5 game, for the Group of 5 bowl game. They'd obviously need to win this game. I don't trust them to do it. My numbers make the game even, so I think there's a little value on Nevada at the price. But I want to see what their approach is this year before I get involved with them. They had a couple of games, and most notably the Hawaii game last year. They should have blown Hawaii's doors in that game. I don't lose many big plays in college football. I lost that one. And it was, to me, was one of the dumbest game plans I've seen all season, and they paid for it. So I've got to make sure that this coach, who's very well regarded, his stock went down last year, in my opinion. I did not think he got the maximum out of the Wolfpack team. I want to see a balanced attack by Nevada that isn't all Carson strong. And if I see that, they'll win this game and be on their way to a great season. If I don't see that, then you can mark down Nevada as an overrated team that'll probably get upset a couple of other times this year.
Good point there, Ralph. How much faith do you have in Nevada this year?
Well, I used them a few times last year. My power ratings were higher than most, and I got burned a few times as well. You look at their games away from home last year. At UNLV, they won by 18. They played New Mexico in a neutral setting, laying 17, only won by 7. Went to Hawaii in the game Dave mentioned, were a 7-point favorite and lost by 3. And then against San Jose State, they were, +1 and they lose by 10. So away from home, Strong has not impressed. So can he change that this year? This is the first Power 5 team Nevada has played on the road. They did play Oregon last year. They went to Northwestern in 2017. In 2019, they did knock off Purdue on that last second, I think, 55-yard field goal or whatever it was. Obviously, 21 returning starters from a team that went 7-2. But again, this is the best defense they faced clearly since probably that Oregon team back in the second game of 2019. Couple points I will bring up. Because of the fires and the smoke, they actually went to practice at Stanford. So you might as well get used to hating your opponent by practicing at the opponent's rival. So, they've been up in Northern California the whole time. And when I look at the teams, we don't talk about this much, but you look at the experience they got last year. Remember, Nevada played 9 games and had bowl practices. California played 4 games and had no bowl practices. So 5 extra games plus bowl practices. Yes, you got your spring and summer, but that's a lot more experience for those guys. Can he do it? I'm not sure. This is another game where I'm going to lean with the under. I think Chase Garbers for California is going to be improved, but we know Cal, led by Wilcox, is a defensive team first. I think Nevada's defense is improved. I do agree with Dave that they're going to need to run to try to slow this clock against Cal's D. Therefore, put those together for me, and I'm leaning under the total.
All right, looking towards the under. And how about it there, Teddy? You think defense at a premium in this game?
Yeah, so certainly from a conceptual standpoint, I would look at the under in this game as well. I don't trust Chase Garbers, all right? I know that Dave said that he liked them. Garbers is too close to garbage for my liking, and he has been his first 2 years he started. All right, he's been not mediocre. He's been bad. He's cost Cal bettors more than once. And just as importantly, remember when Cal was recruiting top-notch receivers? There's no Keenan Allens on Cal's receiving core right now. There's no one with NFL talent in Cal's receiving core right now. So it's a quarterback I don't trust and a receiving core I don't trust. The defensive line lost their top 2 guys. Justin Wilcox as chalk at home. Last 3 years at Pick'em or as favorites at home. There's a grand total of 0 point spread covers. I have an 0-8-1 ATS. This is not his role. Now, the problem is the Wolfpack. I know I don't want Cal, but can I get there with the Nevada side of the equation? And certainly, we look at you talk about the upset win over Purdue, and they were going to cover that game whether they kicked the game-winning field goal or not. They had the straight-up win against Oregon State as well, but both of those came at home in Reno. Look at them on the road in these step-up games, blown out at Oregon, blown out at Vandy, blown out at Wazoo, blown out at Toledo, blown out at Notre Dame, lost by double digits at Northwestern. The track record isn't there, so it's going to be a lean towards Nevada. And again, split line as we record, we're talking 3s and 3.5s out there. I'd rather have the Wolfpack plus 3.5 than I would the Bears minus 3.
All right, good stuff.
I just want to throw in one other thing. Nevada had a really bad habit last year of letting drives continue for the opposition with idiotic third down penalties. It was a real problem for them last year. This team's got to be more disciplined. There's might not be a game on the entire schedule I want to watch more than this one, because I think Nevada has a chance to be a really good team and maybe be the best team in the Mountain West this year. But I've got to see more attention to detail and less stupid stuff than we saw last year out of Nevada, which cost themselves a good season by their own mental mistakes. So I think this is a really big game for Nevada. That's it. I'm done.
Stop the stupid shit. It's going to be a t-shirt for this show. Moving on here. We're going to go to the final game. That's what we need to do here. Maryland taking on West Virginia here in this matchup. And game opened up West Virginia -4. The total was 54. And you got the inconsistent offense of Maryland, Ralph, going up against, well, the Big 12's best defense last year in West Virginia. So what do you think we're going to see?
Well, Tua's little brother, Talui, looked great in a couple games, looked crappy in a couple games. And, people talked about their defense giving up 32 yards per game and 430 yards. But I do want to say this, when you break down Maryland's season last year, they allowed 43 yards per game in their first two games against Minnesota and Northwestern. Then against Penn State, Indiana, and Rutgers, they cut it down to 24 points per game. So I saw improvement there. Dagey and West Virginia obviously lived by their defense last year, and they lost their top two guys, but they're still going to be, maybe the best defense in the Big 12, maybe a top 10, top 15 type unit on the season. But I like the Maryland offense. They got a couple stud wide receivers. The reports I've gotten out of Talui is from Maryland that I have a couple guys that get some decent coverage, and I'm very impressed. The defense is deep. They probably have 4 or 5 cornerbacks that they can start. And here's the thing. Dagey has started 14 games for West Virginia. They've never played Oklahoma. They played TCU once, I think. He has never faced a man-to-man coverage. This will be man-to-man coverage. They've been practicing. The defenders have been practicing man-and-man in West Virginia. But I love the way Maryland's going to blitz. I think they're going to blitz often. They're going to have unique blitzes. I think they can change out of man-to-man. If you have that team already thinking, if you're in Dagey's head thinking, this is the first time I'm playing man-to-man, I got to start watching man-on-man film. I have this West Virginia team higher than most, so I'm going to call for the Terps to go in here and steal the win. Again, I don't think they're going to make a lot of noise, but again, I have them higher than most of my power ratings by probably almost 4 points. So I may be on the Maryland Terrapins a few times this year, especially if they prove me right this Saturday.
Ooh, all right. And Teddy, tell me, do you have any confidence in Maryland putting it all together on both sides of the ball here?
No. Ralph has more confidence than I do. And again, we've seen this from the Terps. They have a good game. You're like, wow, Maryland, man, look at the playmakers, look at the quarterback. And then you watch the same team the next week, and there's and they look completely different. And I'm sure any Maryland fans who are watching this are familiar with exactly what I'm talking about. The consistency just hasn't been there. Yes, Maryland probably has the better quarterback. I think they have the better skill position talent overall. They don't have the better offensive line. That is a very concerning offensive line. There's concerns about depth. Loxley was talking about it. Eric Harris just got the starting nod at center, and he just got here from the JUCO ranks, which again, when that starts to happen, that's a concern. What's West Virginia's strength? That defense is strong. That front seven is strong. They're going to put a lot of pressure on the line of scrimmage. And it's not like Tagovailoa had a year last year where he played a whole bunch of games. He only played a couple of games. He threw for 1,111 yards. Only 7 TDs. And again, look good, look bad, was hurt, was gone. That was, I have concerns about Maryland's ability to control the line of scrimmage in this game. And if I don't trust a team to control the line of scrimmage, I don't want them +3. I don't want them +7. I got to be catching double digits in a game where I don't expect the team I want to support to get manhandled up front. That could well be a problem for Maryland here.
All right, Dave, which one are what do you count on in this game, Dave? Who do you have the most confidence in?
Neither. Yeah, I'd like to make a good case, but I'm an inside-out handicapper. I started the offensive and defensive lines, and West Virginia offensive line. I don't know. They're not a very good offensive team. I don't like Dagey very much, but the defensive front is really good, and they're going to win that side of the battle. That means they should be able to put pressure on the Maryland quarterback, and he is the guy who can make some mistakes. He's not his big brother. Let's put it that way. So I think the trench battle edge goes to West Virginia, but I don't trust them as a favorite, mainly because of Dagey, he just makes too many mistakes. He's just not a very good quarterback. I'm really kind of surprised West Virginia has not been able to do better in terms of bringing in a quarterback in a conference that features good quarterback play. I mean, there's a lot of good QBs in this league, and you'd think that they could have attracted somebody a little bit stronger, but it hasn't happened. I really don't know what to do with the game. I give Maryland a chance, certainly, but their offensive line is going to have to play better than I think it might be able to do. This is one of those games where I'll learn a lot about the two teams. We'll see if West Virginia has improved at all offensively. They were not good last year. We'll see if Maryland can pass block a little bit and create some time for their quarterback so that he doesn't get forced into really bad throws. I really don't have an idea what to do with this game.
All right, well, it's going to be an interesting game for sure. Market pushing the total up a couple of points here since the open, and the side guys pretty much staying just where it is there at about 3.5. And just a quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, still plenty of time for you to head over to WagerTalk.com and visit not only Ralph Michaels' page, but Teddy Covers' page, as well as Dave Cokin's page. Plays and college football access, all passes. They are up and they are locked and loaded, ready to go. In fact, I believe there is an NFL and college football package together. You can get both. You get one, you get the other for one real low price, guys. They're turning the clock back here at WagerTalk.com. And who better than the three guys, shall we say, with the most seasoning, Ralph? How's that good? I didn't want to say old, but yes, I would just say the three guys with the most seasoning. Ralph Michaels, Teddy Covers, and Dave Cokin. Make sure you visit them. Ralph, appreciate it. Teddy, best of luck, guys. And Dave, we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner. Come back and join us again tomorrow, heading into the weekend for another College Football Daily powered by WagerTalk.com. Good luck, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
We've rolled back our football prices. WagerTalk's first full year was 2015, and we've lowered our football season packages to match what we charged that football season. Why? It's simple. We want to make our season-long packages an extraordinary value. You can buy a full college football season or full NFL season for only $5.99 each. But if you buy a college football NFL combo from the same handicapper, you pay only $8.99. Looking to mix and match handicappers? We have you covered. Just email support@wagertalk.com for a bundle discount and to create any handicapper combo you can dream of.